going on, everybody? This is Season 3, Episode 3 of the Race BMX Show. I'm here with Ed Lovato. We are in Dave Churn's office. You guys might recognize it from the last episode of Season 2. And it is the epicenter of where almost all BMX ride out and stretch cruiser ride gear comes from. It's the hats, it's the shirts, it's everything. If you guys have been paying attention to the internet, what's going on in the world of BMX, not the world, this is Ed. He is currently running the Goonies. He has just finished a trip to Mexico, and when I say trip, I'm not talking about he took a trip to Mexico. I'm talking about he rode his bike from the Valley or Los Angeles?
From
Burbank to Mexico. He's also got a new video podcast out called
Why Do You Ride?
Why Do You Ride? So his presence has always been there since I've started riding, and his contribution to our Los Angeles and California BMX Society has risen humongously. So let's get started with the trip to Mexico. First of all, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And before we get into the real questions behind it, how'd your knees, did you find out things that you didn't know when you first started riding? Like, well, I guess what I'm asking is, like, we know you're a super strong rider, but did going that distance, did you find out that your knees aren't 20-year-old knees anymore? How did that go down?
Well, the first time we did a ride like that, the first time we did a 100 plus mile ride, we didn't really plan for it. We just did it. And
you just ended up doing 100 miles?
Well, it all started with this ride that Ellie Rendon does every year called Around the Valley in a Day. It's we do the perimeter of the San Fernando Valley in a day, and that was that. The total mileage on that is about 77 miles. So from that, we were like, dude, we need to hit 100. We need to do 100. So the first time we did a 100-mile ride, we had talked about it for like a year.
And I'd also like to point out that when I showed up, Ellie and Ed were together frequently. Ellie's a super powerful rider. He even took time off from being a street rider with us to go, didn't he, like, place nationally?
Yeah, he did, dude. He was racing BMX.
Yeah, he was racing BMX, but, like, he was, like, third or first in the state or something?
That's right, dude.
Yeah, so I just want to give some credit to him. All right, so you guys are doing his Around the Valley.
Yeah, so we did the Around the Valley, and we did 77-something miles, and then, you know, from there we started talking like, hey, dude, we need to do 100 miles. We could do 100 miles. And so for about a year, we talked about doing a ride from LA to San Diego. But we didn't do it. We just talked about it. So one night on a Wednesday night ride, we started talking about it again, and we were like, man, let's just do it. Let's just do it. We're going to do it, you know, this coming Saturday. We'll do it. This was in December. And so
probably the less time to think about it, the better, right?
Yeah. So we didn't really plan for it. We just did it.
Okay.
And we definitely learned some lessons on that first one that we did.
Well, what are those lessons?
Taking breaks on your way there. Because the first time we did it, we left Burbank and we just rode straight to like Bolsa Chica.
I don't know where that is.
That's just south of like Long Beach.
Okay.
Without a break.
So and just in a car, that's 45 to an hour, right?
Something like that.
So what is that on a bike?
It's about 40 miles, 30, 40 miles.
How about in time?
A couple hours.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when we hit Bolsa Chica, I started feeling some pain in my tendons in my knee. And so we stopped and tried to rest a little bit, and I took some ibuprofen, and then I also rubbed some CBD on my knee because I was looking for something, you know, to ease the pain, and
right.
The CBD definitely helped, man. It eased the pain, and the pain almost went totally away.
Okay.
So we continued on, and we made it to San Diego, but it was a battle because of the pain in my knee.
Was anybody else suffering, or just you?
Yeah, there was a couple other guys that had some knee pain.
Okay.
And so after that ride, we definitely had some lessons learned, like hydration, like hydrate a couple days before the ride.
What's that mean? Drink 3 gallons of water every day up until the ride?
Well, that's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then get a good night's sleep the night before, and then another one is taking breaks, like as you go. So what we do is when we do those long distance rides, we take a break every 15 to 20 miles.
So you're kind of doing it like the circuit race. You're kind of doing it like a roadie.
I guess, yeah. I don't know how they do it, but
yeah, spaced out breaks. Okay.
So every 15 to 20 miles we'll take like a 10 or 15 minute break.
Okay.
Just to kind of stretch and then let our bodies kind of rest a little bit, and then we just continue on. And then so like on this ride that we did from Burbank to Mexico, or to the Mexican border, we had a breakfast break, a lunch break, and we had a little bit of a dinner break. And then in between there, we stop every 15 to 20 miles.
How many of you were there?
On this last one, there were 12 of us.
And you got what? That group is within the Goonies, but what are you guys? You're the Super Squad?
No, the Savage Squad.
The Savage Squad, all right.
Yeah, and so that term, or that label, was coined on that first ride that we did from LA to San Diego, because to do these rides, you have to get into this certain mentality, man, because it's very challenging. I mean, maybe like in... We're rolling on the 5 freeway right now. We just made it to Camp Pendleton. We're on our way to Oceanside, but we gotta ride the freeway 7.5 miles. We gotta get it done, man. We're on a mission. Burbank to the border, U.S.-Mexico border. The videos that we post, it looks like we're having fun and stuff, but sometimes it's tough. It's tough, man.
Well, that leads to my question. I mean, I know you, but did you just progressively in your bike life, you just kept riding further and further, and that gave you the strength and the ability to ride to the Mexican border? Or are you like training like an athlete?
Well, I think it all stems from our Wednesday night ride.
Okay.
When I took over the Wednesday night ride.
How did that happen?
A few years ago, Stan Nunez and Ellie Rendon were running the ride, as well as Drop, a guy named Drop from the Goonies, and Edwin. They would run the rides on Wednesday night, and then people get busy in their lives, and I was handed the reins to the Wednesday night ride, and so at the time I was going to all the rides. I was going to the Harbor Area ride, the 4130 ride, the 41 Thursday rides. I was going to the Rad rides and going to all the other rides.
Well, I think that almost everyone I know, I know a lot of people in the scene now, but the core of us are all met at 41 Thursday.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And so when I was given the reins to the ride, there weren't that many people that were riding. It was just,
Is it a lot of responsibility to run a ride, or is it casual responsibility? It is an unpaid job, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's some responsibility, but for me, it's fun. I love running the ride. So I put my heart and soul in creating routes and just running the rides and like having everybody enjoy the rides,
Yeah.
So it all stems from that Wednesday night ride. When I got the reins of the Wednesday night ride, I ride a certain way. I ride a little bit faster pace.
Yeah, I know. I've been behind you.
And I like to hit trails, like dirt trails, bridges, tunnels.
Yeah, obstacle style.
Yeah. Because that's the way I rode when I was a kid, when me and my brother and our buddies were kids.
I totally agree 100%. Like,
yeah.
I'll follow you through trails and all that any day over all of us just rolling down a boulevard for 7 miles in a row.
Yeah. So that, for me, that's what I enjoy. I like having an adventure, and I like to ride a little faster pace. And so just going to those rides every Wednesday kind of, was kind of like training.
Okay.
And then also, because Ellie did Around the Valley in a day ride, the Wednesday night ride kind of trained us for that. And then once we completed that, then we were like, shoot, dude, we could do 100 miles.
How much is Around the Valley? How many miles was that?
It's about 77.
Yeah, that's super close to 100, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's only 100 miles to the border?
No, to the border, when we did it, was about 189 miles.
Oh, so we're still talking about the before ride, before you, and then you almost doubled the distance?
Yep. So from LA to San Diego, it's about 150 miles on the route that we take.
Okay.
And then on this past ride, when we rode from Burbank to the border, we rode down, past, well, there were 12 of us that did the ride. And we got to San Diego, and about half of the group had to go back, not because they were hurt or anything. It was just they had to pick up a rental truck,
Right.
and they needed to go back because they had to, I guess, get back for work or something.
Yeah, they had to go back to their lives.
Yeah. But the other 6 of us, we were already planning to go to the border.
Right.
So when we got to San Diego, they broke off, and then we continued on to the border.
How'd you guys get back?
We rode our bikes back.
You rode back?
Well, not back to well, from the border to San Diego, we rode our bikes back.
Oh my God,
And then
dude.
from San Diego back home, we were supposed to take the train. We missed our train. It was a kind of an unforeseen thing that happened, but we ended up just getting a rental truck and then driving back from San Diego to Burbank.
I mean, this is an awesome story, but it messes with my head because I'm like, I'm a badass rider. Then I hear this story and I'm like, no, I'm not. So you went. Did you feel victorious after that?
Yeah, it's you definitely feel like you've accomplished something.
All right, that makes perfect sense to me. And the Goonies are every Wednesday.
Yep, every Wednesday night.
And then the first Friday of every month.
First Friday of the month. Yeah.
I did one recently with you when we. Ed is obvious. If you guys know all of us, he's one of the people that received a Race Inc. bike for his contributions to BMX World. How's that treating you?
Oh man, I love it, dude. I love that bike. Thanks, Race Inc.
Yeah.
Thanks, Art. Thanks, Ewan. Thanks, Toby. Thanks, Race Inc. for recognizing us and giving me a bike. I really appreciate it, and I love that bike.
Yeah. How many hours do you think you put into making up routes and organizing, getting flyers ready?
Well, the flyers are done by Stan Nunez,
Oh, okay.
who goes by One Saints on Instagram. He's like an incredible artist, man. Like, and he creates all the flyers for us.
Okay.
And then the routes, I develop all the routes, and the way that I developed those routes was when I moved out to the valley. Sometimes I would just go out and ride and just explore, find different things out there in the valley, because like
by yourself before you knew everybody in the neighborhood type of life? Okay.
That, and then also I would ride with Ellie or some of the other guys.
Okay.
But mostly it would be by myself. And then also too, there's another ride out in the valley on Tuesday nights from Atomic Cycles.
Yeah, you tell me about that one a lot.
Yeah, by a guy named Paul De Valera.
Yeah, let's make sure people know about that.
Yeah, that ride has been going on for, I think he just celebrated his 13th year of that ride.
And that's not even an ordinary ride. Like, you guys end up in the mountains, on trails. Sometimes you have to carry your bikes, right?
Sometimes it's a bike and hike.
It's like a whole nother level,
bike.
right?
Yeah, it's a whole nother level, man. Like, he takes us up in the hills, and we hit some, like, sometimes it's like treacherous, dude. Like, dangerous stuff.
Well, also, you were telling me when we were riding, you've also been entering a variety of bike competitions as well, right?
Mhm.
So why don't you tell them about that?
Yeah, so again, with Paul De Valera from Atomic Cycles, he has a number of events throughout the year that he does. He does a side hack race, which Ellie and I participate in.
Okay. Do you own a side hack, or does Ellie?
I have a side hack.
Is it removable, or is it welded to a bike?
It's welded.
Okay. 20 inch, 24?
20 inch.
Okay.
And then he also does the Coaster Break Challenge 2 times a year.
Yeah,
So
that one
it's in
sounds
January,
crazy.
January and July. Every Sunday in January, every Sunday in July.
And that's them racing. Are you on tracks or on trails?
trails.
Trails. On coaster brake bikes.
Yep. On Coaster Break bikes. If you guys follow my YouTube channel, I have a couple of Coaster Break Challenge videos on there that shows like what we do.
Yeah. Can you tell them about your last one that you told me about?
Yeah, so the last one, it was Coaster Break Challenge 28, heat number 4.
And he's competing against like ex and current professional mountain bikers and stuff. It's not just a bunch of guys goofing around.
There's like legit national champion riders on that like win every time. So, but this last one, we were racing. It was a 3-lap race. Each lap is maybe about 2 miles, 2.5 miles, and it's up in the hills, so it's up and down. And there's this one section about halfway through where it's just this down section, this downhill that kind of goes up and down, but it's mostly down. And at the very bottom, when it levels out, there's a hump, and then there's a sharp right turn that goes up a hill. And after the first lap, I noticed that hump, but on the other side of that hump are a bunch of ruts. And so I thought, okay, well, the next time I come up, or come down, I'm gonna try to jump over those ruts
On a coaster
to
brake
try to
bike.
make it up that turn a little quicker, because when you make that sharp turn, you have to slow down a lot.
Also, I mean, I think you can tell them, but I'll also ask, there's got to, after all these years on a freewheel, the coaster brake has got to be a bigger factor than you think about, because we're also used to being able to zzz, zzz, and position ourselves. You lose all that with your coaster brake, right?
You do.
What is that like? And I'm picturing, because we land with handbrakes, you can land and then your cranks can do whatever they need to do, but coaster brake, so
it's challenging, like how he labels it. It's a coaster brake challenge.
yeah. What did you discover or not remember before you were on the coaster brake bike during the race?
Just feet placement with the coaster brake, doing the stuff that you do on Paul's coaster brake challenges. You have to place your feet a certain way, or at least I do, and that helps me, with stopping or slowing down.
What are you using for that bike?
26-inch red line.
You have a red line with coaster brakes?
Mm-hmm.
Or did you put coaster brakes on it for the race?
Actually, that's another story that we get into, man. Is that bike I actually bought for my son, from my buddy Jesse
Okay.
Lowdown. He goes by Jesse Lowdown on Instagram.
Is this a 20 again or a 24?
It's a 26.
Oh, a 26.
The red line.
You have a 26-inch red line with a coaster brake.
Yes.
Okay.
And I bought it from my buddy Jesse for my son. And Jesse is actually the person who got me into these group rides.
Okay.
But anyway, I bought it from him.
Oh, he's the one that brought you to all the rides in the first place?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Because I didn't know it even existed. So growing up, I was a baseball player. I played baseball all the way up into college, and then after that, I started playing softball, where I was playing in tournaments and traveling the country playing softball.
You were traveling as a pro softball player?
I guess you can kind of say that. I wasn't getting a check, but they were paying for my flight and like rental car.
It's a great way to see the world.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I loved it, dude. And then, but I was also playing softball during the week to stay in shape for the tournaments.
Okay.
In Burbank, and Jesse was on my team, and so this one night I was walking into the dugout, and he was holding his phone up showing these guys this group ride. And I
Which group ride was it?
It was a 4130
Subway Series or Thursdays?
No,
okay.
Subway Series. So he was holding his phone up showing this ride, and I was like, oh dude, what's that? And he was like, oh man, it's a group ride. And I was like, oh man, they're all on BMX bikes. He's like, yeah. And I was like, so I started telling him, oh dude, I rode BMX, when I was a kid. I raced for a little bit too at this track called Ascot. It's not there anymore, but it was on 182nd in Vermont.
Dude, I grew up in Manhattan Beach, and late at night, I don't know if you guys got this over in your neighborhood, you could hear the race cars at Ascot, right? I don't know the miles, but yeah, you could hear Ascot at nighttime.
Yeah, actually, the track that those cars were racing on was a half-mile dirt track.
Okay.
My dad used to take us there to watch the motorcycles, the AMA flat track.
Right. And then the BMX track was over there.
Yeah, it was over in the corner. So, anyway, I was telling you.
Let me ask you the traditional question on the show. What was your first bike? What was your first BMX bike?
My first BMX, bike was a Schwinn. And then growing up on the street that I grew up on, there was a bunch of kids that, older kids that rode BMX and rode skateboards. And so I wanted a BMX bike. So my first BMX bike, I don't know what brand it was. My dad built it because, seeing those kids with the BMX bikes, with the Diamondbacks and the GTs and all that, I told my dad, oh, I want one of those. I want a BMX bike. And my dad was like, the bike that I wanted was a Diamondback. But he was like, I can't afford to get you one of those bikes. He said, I'll build you a bike. And my dad was like, he had like a workshop in his garage, so he was always building stuff, fixing stuff, like working on cars.
Did he weld the bike from scratch?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think he just put it together.
Okay.
But he painted it. He definitely painted it because he had like a paint gun and air compressor and all that stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he built this bike for me. It was a 20-inch bike. It was gold. It didn't have any decals on it.
Right.
But it was black and gold. It had black and yellow checker, like pad set.
Okay.
Black and gold checker pads.
I remember that, yeah.
And then back to watching the AMA flat track at Ascot, one of my favorite riders had black moto mags on his motorcycle. So I told my dad, oh, I want black moto mags on my bike. So he actually built it. It was a 20-inch. It was a gold bike. I don't know what brand it was. It was black and yellow. It had black and yellow pads. Yeah, like gold paint job, and then it had black moto mags.
before the brands that have like risen still exist today, even like some of my neighbors, myself, like there was Rampars and all kinds of stuff that's not around today.
Yeah.
People were just riding anything they could get their hands on back then.
And I wish I still had that bike, because I would have loved to know, what kind of bike that was.
You're right.
But it had a coaster brake on it.
Okay. Oh, full circle.
Yeah.
And now, so back into the coaster brake race, right? You bought the red line for your son that had the coaster brake on it.
Yeah, and so Jesse was showing this video of this group ride, and I asked him, hey, what's that? And he was like, oh man, it's a 4130 Subway Series. And I was like, oh dude, man, I'd love to do that, man. And so he was like, hey, and like it just happened that Saturday, the following Saturday, there was a 4130 Subway Series in the Valley.
Okay.
And so he was like, dude, there's a 4130 ride this Saturday. He's like, you should come. And I was like, I don't have a bike though. And he was like, well, I have like 3 of them. He's like, I'll let you borrow one. So I was like, all right, cool. So he let me borrow his bike, and I rode that 4130 Subway Series out in the Valley, and dude, I love it. And ever since then, man, like people laugh because like after that, I still played softball and I rode, but then like slowly I kind of moved away from softball and I just started riding. And to this day, I get phone calls from people saying, hey man, we're putting this team together, we want you to play, we want you to be on the team. And I'm like, nah dude, I don't want to play on. And they're like, what? Like they can't believe.
You're like, I'm on my way to Mexico on my bike.
Yeah. After all these years of being sponsored, playing tournaments and all that, like I'd just rather ride my bike, man.
Well, now you're sponsored.
Yeah.
Same story, both things.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that I've ever interviewed says, well, with the exception of a couple guys, we all say we showed up to 4130 the first time.
Yeah.
And if you've ever ridden around by yourself, but when you were a kid you ended up at that lot that the whole neighborhood ended up with, it starts all over again at your first 4130 Subway Series, right?
Yeah, dude, I was hooked, man. I love it. I always loved riding my bike when I was a kid. There was a field in the city of Carson on Main, and there's a street that goes through it now. There didn't used to be a street, but it's on Main and Del Amo. Over by where that Porsche testing place is, where they race Porsche. Well, just south of that, south of Del Amo Boulevard, there was a field. The field is still there, but it's not like what it was back then.
What you guys do, build your own track?
It was already built. By the time, like when I was growing up, it was called Jackrabbit. It was actually back in the day. It was a trash dump, or like a hazardous waste dump.
Right.
It was fenced off. You weren't supposed to go in there, but all of us kids that grew up around that area would go in there, and they had all kinds of stuff. They had pump tracks, all kinds of stuff in there, jumps, like sheep hills type jumps.
I mean, we had our own. Yeah, every neighborhood had this lot, basically.
This thing was like Disneyland to us, man. And they had there was also this hill, this really steep hill that was like, you go straight down and then into this little gully, and then at the end it was like kind of like a big hump where you could get air, and they called that suicide.
Oh yeah, are you a guy who can get air?
Yeah, I can, but I'm almost 50 years old, so I'm trying to slow down, man. Like
yes. I don't even like to wheelie. You started wheeling again on the 26 out of nowhere, though. Was that a skill you were surprised you still had? Because the 24s don't wheelie the same way, right?
No, not the one that I have. But yeah, the 26.
What's your preferred size?
24. I like the 24 just because of I can manage it.
It's like being on a 20 for you, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I also like the 26. Like the 26. So after I started riding, and I bought a 26-inch SC Blocks flyer just to get started. And so I rode that around.
Is that the black and gold one you were on when I met you?
Black and silver.
Black and silver, okay.
Yeah, so I started riding that, and then then I started seeing different bikes, and then I got that 26-inch red line.
Okay.
The one that I got from Jesse.
With the coaster brake?
Mm-hmm. And then
why the hell did it have a coaster brake?
I'm not sure.
There's so much more about your life we could talk about, but how did you end up with a bike with a coaster brake?
I don't know. It's just the bike that he had. Like he was selling the bike for pretty cheap, and I needed to get a bike for my son because he wanted to start riding.
Right.
And I wasn't sure if my son was going to stick with it or not, so I didn't want to buy like a kind of an expensive bike.
Yeah, plus
Jesse,
if he's not as used to riding as you are, how do you go riding with your dad when he's headed to Mexico?
Yeah. So then after about a year riding that 26, I wanted to build a bike.
Okay.
And Ellie Rendon has a 22-inch S&M, which is an American-made bike, and
Right.
I wanted to build an American-made bike, and so he put me in touch with some people, and I was able to get a good deal on a frame and handlebars. And
I remember you telling me about that too. And for the record, for those of you that are watching that don't know already, Ed and Patty, one of Ed's frequent riding buddies, the LA rider as well as a Goonie, you guys have a little science to your gearing, and these guys found the perfect recipe for very fast bikes, right?
Yeah. So on my 24-inch, I run a 28 in the front, and I used to run a 9 in the back, but now I run a 10. So it's a 28 in the front, 10 in the back.
Okay, so what's that mean? It takes a little to get it started, but once it's moving, it won't stop?
Right. It's a strong gear, but I love it, dude. It's once you get going, it's for me, I love it. I don't know. I'm used to that gearing.
That's your bike. That's your
Yeah.
feel, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Because, I mean, your goal, you've become very fast. Like, you were always normal fast, but the miles and the time you've put in, you've just become faster and faster and faster. Like,
Yeah, it's just. I think I just worked my way up to that.
yeah, that it's a natural, it happened naturally, organically, right?
Right. Yeah, it was just going to all the rides. I started really going to, like, every Tuesday night I'd ride with Paul, and then every Wednesday night, with the BMX Goonies, and they're similar rides. Paul does a little bit more crazier stuff up in the hills, but as far as the pace is concerned, it's pretty much the same.
What brought you to the rides in the first place? For me, I mean, first of all, I love riding my bike, and nobody else will listen to me talk about my bike as much as the other bike guys and girls. But also, all of a sudden, I'd gotten back to California, there was like a void, and then slowly you're like, you have all these friends and people to ride with and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was that part of it for you? Did you need to kill time? Was it the thing, or were you just hooked?
For me, it was just I enjoyed it. I enjoy riding. It's like a stress reliever, and it's fun. Basically, it's just I do it for the fun, and for the adventure, and I love the way it feels when you're either jumping a bike or going down a trail, or just the force that you feel.
Do you have a night ride or a day ride preference?
No.
I mean, I love riding during the day, but I love riding at night. I don't think there's anything like it.
I love both.
Okay.
I just love everything about it, man.
Yeah, just the moving and hearing the freewheel.
And then the camaraderie too. Like, we have a really close knit group on Wednesdays and Tuesdays.
And did you know Los Angeles the way you do now pre-bike riding?
No, I didn't.
Now you could get anywhere, right? You could never
Yeah.
get lost again, even if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, man.
And the camaraderie is a really important part of it. I mean, you guys even have movie nights and stuff with the Goonies and stuff like that.
Yep. We do movie night at my house. We have pool parties. We even have a barbecue, an annual barbecue that we call the Goonie Q, out in the valley.
Okay. Is your ride, the time I did the ride, also the New Year's one I did, it's pretty fast moving, obviously. Do you guys have swerve issues and things like that, or is it such a solid group that everyone's on the same page already?
It's a solid group. We're all on the same page. We don't do swerving on cars and stuff. There's been a couple times where there's been people that have come to our ride that started doing that, but we just kind of shut it down real quick and just had a talk with them and said, hey, we don't do that here.
And they were cool, no animosity?
Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah, because the Adam Mark part, that'll be in a smaller version, and the Andrade brothers, which is right before this. There's a conflict between the swervers and the thing, which everyone's stating like, hey, you do what you want. And it's like, even if you think my ride's boring, like, it's just not the ride for that, but I don't have any problems with you doing it somewhere else. It's your life.
Yeah. Also, too, with the pace that we have on our ride, it's we don't really attract like the wheelie. Well, there's wheelie kids, but not really necessarily like the people that are swerving.
I was next to you when some kid asked you if you could slow it down.
Yeah.
And sometimes Ed doesn't have an expression on his face, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny when young people are asking an almost 50-year-old man if he could please slow down.
Yeah.
It's funny. How do you feel about the BMX world today? I mean, we were all riding before COVID. there was I don't know, like 1/3 of what there is now, and then COVID hit, and even though people were supposed to go in, it actually ended up getting bigger. And now I feel like it's coming back to where it was, but with more riders. How do you like the state of BMX life in California today?
I like it. I like it because there's a ride for everybody out there. There's, if you like to just cruise and hang out and have a good time and party, there's rides like, you know, for that.
Right.
And then if you like to ride like how we ride, like in dirt trails and you know, faster, quicker pace, there's a ride like that.
Do you ever open up the Savage Squad rides to people, or do you need to know that they're going to make it all the way?
We need to know that they're going to make it all the way because, you know, we're traveling long distances and we're going from point A to point B, and it's not for everyone. So on our Wednesday night ride is where we see who can do it and who can't.
Okay.
We can kind of gauge a person's ability on that ride.
Okay.
And then if they're interested in it and we think that they can do it, we'll have them come ride with us on like around the valley ride. Which is like a 70-mile ride, and see how they do on that. Because that ride we start at you know, at a place in Burbank, and we go around the valley and we end the ride in Burbank.
Yeah, you could break down and take an Uber back anywhere, right?
Yeah.
When you prepare for a Savage Squad long distance ride, is it the standard bring an inner tube and bring a bottle of water, or are you guys like packing like survival gear?
Yeah, we definitely have like clothing. We'll have like a hoodie, you know, a pair of pants.
Someone's carrying tools?
Yeah, we all pretty much carry our own tools. So we'll have like, as far as the tubes are concerned, we'll have doubles or triples of tubes.
Okay.
Just because we're traveling a long distance. We'll have snacks, water with us. The first few that we've done, we do about 5 or 6 of them a year. And the first year that we did it, we just carried our own stuff in our backpacks.
Right.
But then when we did our latest Santa Barbara City Hall to LA City Hall ride, Rugs, BMX Rugs, shout out to Rugs, and Taya, she offered to provide a support vehicle.
Oh, that's great actually, right?
Yeah, so I just went through with her, let her know where we were going to stop, or we were planning to stop, and so she would meet up with us at all these different stops, and she had an ice chest.
Yeah, because it's a safety issue. I don't mean safety like getting hurt, but like keeping water in your body, having the bikes.
Yeah,
and
you
all
never
that.
know in case someone, you know, has any issues.
And you you basically documented the trip to the border, right?
Right, and with that one too.
Where can everybody see that? Even though I know you said it once.
On my YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com/Ed Lovato TV, I have a number of videos on there. I have the whole Why Do You Ride video series on there. I have the Burbank to Mexico ride video on there. There's a whole bunch of different videos, like our Wednesday night ride videos are all on there. So
is Burbank to Mexico your biggest feat so far?
Yeah.
And do you guys have plans to top that?
We do. So
what, San Francisco to LA or something?
Well, yeah, dude, I'd love to do that. There's one guy in our crew, Luke Morales, who, that dude is a beast. He lives over in
he's more of a beast than you guys, than you and Ellie?
Well, we're all a team, man.
Yeah, I didn't mean to down your beast.
I would have loved to do what he did. I have to work. I have a job. I got to work.
Yeah, I interrupted. What did he do?
So he rode from Eagle Rock to Laughlin.
What? He rode to Nevada? Oh, you were telling me that story. Yeah, wasn't he out there in the dark by himself at some point?
Yeah, he was out in the desert by himself, and he's a beast, man. And he's another guy who raced BMX. He grew up racing BMX, so he's definitely a beast.
And it seems like the Goonies, not evolved. You know, this is with respect to every Goonie year that's ever lived. But the group of you now, even though you guys seem to all have been raised separately, like the power riders, you guys all ended up being friends on some kind of coincidence or something, right?
And you know what? It was ever since I took over that Wednesday night ride, and I kind of not that I changed it, but it was just made it into a different style ride. I just started doing it the way, you know, the style of ride is how I rode with my friends when I was growing up.
Yeah, for a large ride, it's a very fast-moving ride. But don't be intimidated to go do this fast-moving large ride, because it's not like when they go Savage and you just can't keep up. Like, it's not like all the other rides. Not all rides are the same. But it is a comfortable, fun ride full of friends that you recognize from other rides. But it does move, and then it has a nice fat break in the middle.
Yeah, we have a food break. So there's one break. We ride about 10 miles and then have a food break where we eat like at a burger joint or taco spot or...
Yeah, an actual food break, not like a supermarket grab and go type of situation. Like haul ass, have a nice strong rest, and then go back to hauling ass, basically, right?
We do a minimum of 20 miles. So
what's your personal favorite route that you guys do?
Oh man, there's so many. I don't know if I could pick just one.
You don't have a favorite?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch, man. There's one that I like out in the valley where it's an adventurous route. We ride through Balboa Park, and then we cut through this fence. Well, we cut through this fence and then go over these train tracks.
Okay.
I don't know if we're supposed to be back there, but hopefully I didn't just burn the spot. But anyway, we cross these tracks, and it's like a service road.
Even though we're adults, once you're on your bike, yeah, you're doing things you're not supposed to, but you're a responsible grown-up doing things you're not supposed to. I don't really see the issue.
And then that route goes uphill. It goes up a steady incline, and then it takes us to this place where I think it's an old like stagecoach trail.
Really?
Yeah. And then we ride across that.
And do you guys all like hook up your bikes to the stagecoach and with
it's
six of you pulling it?
It's an old road, like from way back when I guess they had horses and wagons, or but we ride across that.
Every ride I ever saw you at before you started leading rides, you're a front row rider.
Mm-hmm.
Was that like training to lead rides, like unintentional, or it was just comfortable and you were there and never crossed your mind?
Well, when I played baseball in the off season, I used to ride a bike to stay in shape.
Okay.
And so I grew up in Carson, and so me, my buddy, and my brother would ride from my mom and dad's house to the Redondo Beach Pier.
Okay.
And then from there we would ride down to Venice Beach to get some pizza and a drink or whatever. But I did it to stay in shape.
Okay.
For baseball. And then also too, sometimes we would ride from Carson to Belmont Shore down at Long Beach and back.
Little did you know your training for your original sport would become your sport, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Now, we've been going for a pretty long time on this. Where do you, not that it's career, but where do you see your bike riding going from here? Do you have any specific goals? Are you enjoying it the way it is? You're going to go bigger Savage rides and just continue taking the Goonies?
Yeah, we're planning on doing even longer distance than what we're doing now.
Okay.
When we did the Burbank to the border ride, we were shooting to hit 200 miles, but there was some unforeseen things that happened, and so we had to cut it short. But very soon, within the next couple months, we're going to do a 200-mile ride.
Okay.
To accomplish that, and then but yeah, I would love to ride from San Francisco to LA.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's some other stuff that we joke about. We're joking about it, but deep down we're serious about it. Like we would love to ride from the Canadian border down to the Mexican border.
That would be cool, but what is that? Like, how? And be realistic. How many days would that really take? Like that would involve hotel rooms and stuff.
Yeah, it would. I don't know how many days that would be, but
you know what they say about Canada, right?
What's that?
Nothing. Never comes up in conversation.
Yeah, so we have some things that we joke about, but deep down, like we do want to do, like we're serious about them. And that's another thing about our group that we have out in the valley, man, is we joke around a lot. We have fun and we laugh. Laughter is definitely something that goes hand in hand with our rides.
So they're bike life friends that have evolved into real life friends, basically.
Yeah, and for some, dude, like we became like family. Like we're close. Where like we became friends, but it's more of a family now, man. Like the guys in the group the guys in the BMX Goonies will tell you, man, it's more of like a family now.
I believe in it all, but even when I'm saying it with you, it just sounds so corny.
Yeah, it does sound corny, but if you were there and you experience it, you feel the vibe, and if you were just there and you experience it, you would see, you would understand what I was saying.
Yeah, I've even been in some random situations with the guys, and people are like, how do you two know each other? And you're like, we ride BMX bikes together,
Yeah.
and they're like a little bike. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
No, we take over the city and we block the intersections like fake cops and do whatever we want. It's not how
they
it
don't
sounds.
understand. But they're one of those people. I'm sure people can relate that are watching where when you ride through like downtown LA or somewhere where there's restaurants and stuff, and everybody's kind of looking like, what the heck is going on here? Like,
Yeah, it's like, what kind of parade is this? You know?
yeah, those are the people that are like, wow, you ride a BMX bike? Like,
Is there anything that I haven't touched on that you had in mind before you came here that you want to get out there to the BMX world?
no, like I think we touched it all.
All right. I mean, very chill, very pleasant. I was very glad to have Ed here. There's a lot of people out there that I'm going to hit, but I'm always like, we got to do an episode. And just like everyone else, we have work and life. So
Yeah.
I'm so happy we could be here and that Dave could donate the space to us. To use.
Thanks, Dave.
And we're both riding for Race Incorporated now. This show is non-denominational. He's a Goonie. I still consider myself a 41 Thursday.
It's all good, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the crews out there.
Yeah. And the new ones, is there any, do you have any rides that you would recommend that aren't your own?
Not really, man. Like, I'm so busy with my life that I haven't made it out to some of the bigger rides like lately, because before I used to hit all of them, but now I just pretty much just stay out in the valley, man, with the Tuesday night ride and the Wednesday night ride.
Yeah, you can't give up the kid and the wife and the mortgage just to ride your bike, right?
Yeah, and then we do the first Friday of the month ride. That's another thing. That's one thing that I wanted to touch on. That is, like, we get contacted a lot, and people say, they want to experience a BMX Goonie ride, but the valley is a little too far for people. So that was the whole reason we came up with the first Friday of the month ride. Is we hold those in different areas. So we've had them in Redondo Beach, Santa Monica, the West LA, Pasadena, and we're looking to host rides in different areas. So maybe since this is going to be on YouTube, maybe you guys can hit the comments and just post where you guys want us to hold one of the first Friday of the month rides.
And tell them where they can find the rides now.
So on Instagram, if you go to BMX Goonies, you'll find that. And then you can also look up my Instagram page, ed.lovato. And then on YouTube, if you go to youtube.com/Ed Lovato TV, you'll see a bunch of videos on there.
All right, Ed. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Okay. You'll have plenty of rides to see him at, and then you can catch both of us on October 15th in Los Angeles.
Yeah.